There were early warnings connecting the dots about Sean Diddy Combs and Scientology that are very interesting, and we're going to talk about that. And we're also going to get into triggers and boundaries around drama and maybe some tools we can use to help us. Hey, everybody, welcome. Big aloha. I'm Natalie. This is Scientology Life After a Cult. We talk obviously about Scientology being culty, my 35 years in this cult, and leaving with 3 generations of my family. Thank you, everybody, for being here in the live chat. So great to see you. Thank you for jumping in early. I'm getting on a flight later and thought we better do this early. Big thank you to the members who are here. I appreciate your support so much. It truly helps with the channel. And as usual, big hug, huge mahalo to the moderators for helping out, including Sandy McKenna, who survived the storm yesterday. What a storm and ongoing situation there is there. She is fine. Got to check in with everybody else still in Florida and see how they're doing. If you're in that area affected by the hurricane, jump in the chat. Let us know how you're doing. If you're catching this on the replay, jump in the comments. And I'd appreciate it if everybody could show that like button some aloha and check your subscribe as well. All right, we're going to cover a whole bunch of stuff. Are you guys ready? I'm truly happy to see you today. Hello and big aloha to all the people sharing aloha in the chat. Thank you guys so much. Okay, let's take a look now. Confident Chris was out in Los Angeles, and you know how Scientology loves their front groups, including The Way to Happiness. And I feel like we have just not seen a lot with The Way to Happiness since the Hollywood Testing Center pretty much shut their front doors and shuttered themselves in there. They're still in there doing their little culty thing, but they're not out on the street recruiting for Scientology, at least not right in front of the building. And that is where at one point, if you remember last fall, they put up this giant screen and we're showing the precept from The Way to Happiness. And it was one of the most creepy, cringe things we've all ever seen. Now that I'm thinking about it, I should have grabbed a clip from that because back in the day, it was so cringe. It was cringe. It was so bad. Anywho, The Way to Happiness, I think that Scientology might be doing maybe a little bit of a revamp because they were filming some footage and Confident Chris came upon, and of course, conversations ensued. But take a look at this.
Well, you know.
So that there is probably Scientology Media Productions. They're taping something for The Way to Happiness.
It's a public park, so I like to go about my way. Does it matter? Is my question.
No, I just asking you.
It don't matter.
It doesn't matter.
It's a phone. Do you let people take pictures?
Yeah, they got the permit to be here to do what they got to do.
And I don't need a permit to like.
And the person there was sent over by Scientology, of course, which he actually shares that Scientology told him to go park in front of Chris and block his way. I think he actually says that. Let's listen.
Be on my phone.
No, you don't.
Yeah.
Like they're just basically just asking you.
I haven't even talked to any of them, so I don't know what's going
on. That's what they're telling their boss.
Their boss? I'm right here.
She just basically just said park in front of him. I said, I got to talk to him. I just can't park in front of him.
What the heck?
Yeah. Did you get that? Somebody from Scientology said, oh, just go park in front of him. And even the guy was like, I can't just park in front of him. I need to talk to him. I need to assess the situation.
Hell, that's against my First Amendment.
Yeah, but I'm talking.
They trying to block the way. What kind of crap is that?
Put a shade up and block it.
Yeah, tell them to block the whole park.
I told him I was going to talk to you. I wasn't going to do it.
Yeah.
That's why I stopped.
I love that he says that. I told them I was going to talk to you, but I wasn't going to do it. That is just fabulous. And the next few sentences he says are pretty much along the lines of like, oh, I know. It sounded almost like he knew that Scientology was culty, but he had to do this because he was being made to do it. But he wanted to find out what the deal was. Very interesting. And I guess we just have to wait with bated breath to see what Scientology comes up with, what new thing they're doing that they're going to come out with for The Way to Happiness. Let's see if they're filming now. We are in September, so it could be for the New Year's event. It could be for some other type of propaganda. You just never know with Scientology, but we are going to be keeping an eye out on it. But that was a fantastic interaction there. Let's go over to Kansas City, you guys. So for those of you who've been following my channel for a long time, Thank you very much. You know that not that long ago, what was it, last month even, I think, I went to Kansas City to meet Xenu, Scientology Audit, and Casey Cat, who regularly live stream outside of Scientology in Kansas City. And if you guys remember from my live stream, there was a gentleman, an older gentleman who I mistakenly called Jerry. He now will forever be known as not Jerry, who told me to go F myself because he was upset. I think because I confused him with another Scientologist named Jerry there in Kansas City. Who knows? He was triggered and upset about it. And that's kind of just how it went. Well, there's been a sighting because it made us wonder. Well, I was wondering. That's right, Mama Opal. It was not Jerry. Made me wonder, though, what happened to the real Jerry? Because Z News and Auditing Scientology there in Kansas City have shared about the real Jerry, the guy Jerry, and how he drives very, very far. He's an elderly gentleman, and he struggles with walking. He's got something going on. And when we see him, our heart kind of breaks because we know he's elderly. He's driving so far to do Scientology. And he was on the survival rundown. For old timers in the ex-Scientology world, we just called it, I think, the objectives. I don't know when that new name came out. Anyways, I digress. So listen to this. Jerry, the real Jerry, was on this Scientology action, this Scientology service for 1,000,000 years. Okay, not literally, but you know what I mean. A long time. When you do an auditing process in Scientology, you do it until you reach what is called the end phenomena or the EP. So once you reach the end phenomena and they know it because you voice some realization that lines up with what L. Ron Hubbard said you should realize, that is it. You're done with it. You get to attest to it, write a success story and move on. Well, real Jerry was on this thing for like a long time and didn't seem to be getting anywhere. Well, Z News did him a solid, did him a favor a while back, not that long ago, actually, and let him know what the end phenomena was of the process that he was doing. Maybe, because in Scientology, you can't like talk about like, oh, you're supposed to say XYZ and then you're going to be done. If you're trained as an auditor in Scientology, you might know what these end phenomena, what these things are, or the EPs as they're called in Scientology. So here's the thing that happened. Lo and behold, not long after Xenu shared with Jerry, hey, just so you know, this is the end phenomena, similar to when people share what's called the clear cognition in Scientology. And the state of clear is what the book Dianetics says is the goal, where you have perfect memory, all these other things, perfect recall, all that. I've never met anybody in Scientology who fit that, including myself, and I had made it up to operating Thetan level 4 on Scientology's bridge to total freedom. I did. So Jerry, the real Jerry, finishes. He completes it and he moves on to his next thing. So I'm just saying, I think Xenu's helped him out, shared some information with him. Maybe he marinated it in it and realized that the end phenomena, he had passed it, or he realized it, or it made sense, or he just went, you know what? I'm done doing this. I'm just going to say the words they need to hear so this can stop and I can move on to the next thing. So this might very well be one of the first times that I'm aware of where a protesters actually helped the Scientologist save some money in Scientology. Who knows if that's really how it went down, but I think it's very kind of, as we would say in Scientology, date coincident with Jerry finishing. And we're just going to take a look at a quick clip so you guys know, you might remember.
Hey, drop short, fluffer, welcome in.
This is Jerry. He travels very far and he is going into the Scientology building, and he's had a few conversations with Xenu's. She's back there in the alleyway, which is great because she's out there doing some chalk tack, putting down some messages about Scientology, and also calls them out when they don't clean up their cigarette butts. And from a distance anyways, it looks like they're actually keeping that alleyway a bit cleaner. And that's another thing that she corrected Scientology on. Hey, the way to happiness, safeguard and improve your environment is one of the precepts of the way to happiness, which she wrote down there in the alleyway. And lo and behold, what happened is Scientology, you see what happened was they then went and cleaned up the alley and the cigarette butts that they throw all over the outside there, even though there's a giant ashtray thing right there. It's pretty disgusting. So I think that's interesting, you guys. She let him know what was up on what he was doing. And lo and behold, he finishes and he moves on. Yep, that was actually Jerry. That was Jerry. That's not Jerry. Not Jerry is somebody else who looks different, and don't call him Jerry, but that's okay. We call him not Jerry now. Now, let's take a look. Speaking of the chalk tech that she was doing there, let's take a look at this video.
I like to separate out the words so that you can read them distinctly.
Love this. Very clearly, this is the walkway that almost every staff member and person going into the Scientology organization there in Kansas City, this is what they walk. So they're seeing this. Scientology covers up crimes, child abuse, elder abuse, R1 visa fraud, credit card fraud. This is just fabulous. Good, bold letters, great message. They see it as they're walking in. And even though for some of them, it's not going to get through, for others, it's going to be one more layer that is going to lead them out of Scientology, because some of them actually experience the fraud. And when they see it written on a sidewalk, might go, I thought I was the only one. I thought I was the only one. And let me tell you, as a former Scientologist who thought the same thing, I have spoken to so many former Scientologists, under the radar Scientologists, and even current Scientologists. The one thing that is common in almost every single one of them, a commonality, thing they all have in common, they think or thought they were the only one experiencing financial abuse, elderly abuse, whatever it was, whatever the abuse or violation was. They thought they were the only one. And when they hear more stories from former members and experiences of people who either have left or are leaving Scientology, it helps reinforce for them that they're not the only ones, that other people saw it too. I agree, Powerlize to Paralyze, best chalk tech in the business. I love what she does there. Absolutely love it. Absolutely love it. Z News, check her out. Well, there's a link in the video. I'm going to link everything down below, and you can go to her channel, and also Auditing Scientology. Mike is out there with her. Thank you so much for becoming a member. Lathanda, that's a beautiful name. Hip, hip, hooray. I appreciate you. Thank you so much for that. DS Kitty Diane, good morning, Nat and chat and mods. First live in a while, but I do catch y'all on the replay. Sending love. Thank you, Diane, and thank you so much. Huge mahalo for being a member of the channel for 4 months. I appreciate that. All right, everybody. Oh, great idea. Keeping it Mike. Lara FM needs to do a song. You're not the only one. Oh, that just hit me in the heart. Yes. Yes. Somebody tell Lara, or I'll try and remember. That is a great idea. Or somebody needs to write it too. That, oh my God. I love that. I love that. I love that so much. Bridge 1872. This is why we are making a difference on the sidewalks by orgs. Yeah, they see it. Trust me when I tell you. Scientologists want to read it. They want to know what it is. They're curious. As much as they want to act hardcore, people are at different parts of their leaving Scientology journey who are currently in Scientology. Some are 100%, nothing you say is going to change my mind. I'm not taking off the blinders. But trust me when I tell you, my opinion, based on my experience, is that more of them have doubts, have concerns about Scientology management, about what's being done, about what they're seeing being done. But they're so isolated individually that they think they're the only ones, or something is wrong with them, because if they're critical or questioning Scientology, surely they have crimes, right? Surely they have crimes. All right, moving on. We're going to touch on just a little bit of Lisa Marie Presley news, because her memoir is coming out. We're all waiting to know what happens. There's some news out touching on her postpartum opioid addiction withdrawals in her memoir. I think that's very brave to say and share that in her story. I thought that was really interesting. I'm not going to get into the whole article, because kind of the gist is that she's going to be talking about it. And I think that that is something that I'm hoping even Scientologists read and pay attention. Marie Presley was still good with Scientology. Because remember, Scientology doesn't send out a memo anymore. Like, Used to be back in the day, everybody gather around for a back in my day. Back in my day, they used to, do the goldenrod with Natalie Webster is hereby declared a suppressive person for her crimes against Scientology because she dared to ask questions, speak up, disagree, and not want to be culty anymore. And they post it like a wanted poster, lining a hallway in a break room. They used to post these things all over. I'll be honest, I used to go read them for fun because I'm like, all right, who's on the crap list today for Scientology? And some of them were just outrageous in the stuff that they would say. So here's what happened. There ended up being so many. So many of us started to leave. So many of us started to violate L. Ron Hubbard policy on leaving. You're not allowed to tell people, even your family, I'm having doubts about Scientology, or I'd like to leave Scientology, or I'm leaving Scientology, or even I've left Scientology. If you want to stay in the good graces of David Miscavige and Scientology, you cannot say any of those things. And what happens is when more people see that, hey, look what's happening. Where are all these goldenrod declares now? They're not posting them like they used to because there's so many. They are making it rain goldenrods. That's what's happening in Scientology. And because so many people are apparently, allegedly now suppressive, it's going to turn Scientologists off because they're like, wait a minute. We learned in Scientology, L. Ron Hubbard said that only about 2.5% of the people are actually suppressive or have this antisocial personality, right? Truly suppressive, 2.5%. How is it that 40% of Scientologists are actually being declared suppressive people? That's what it looks like. And that is a question that many of them started to ask. Therefore, they stopped posting these things. They've stopped even giving them to people when they're declared a suppressive person currently. Some people have theirs. I left in 2010. I left Scientology. I broke up with you, Scientology, but still, they wanted to excommunicate me afterwards because I ran my mouth. Shocker there, right? Spoiler alert. And that's the deal. It just, they can't get away with it anymore because their own members are going, how are so many people suppressive? This is just weird. So Lisa Marie Presley's memoir is also going to include, and this is why I feel they got to get into the Scientology stuff. Her daughter, Riley Keough, finished the memoir, and she says the last decade of mom, Lisa Marie Presley's life was so brutally hard. She lost her son. She did have a battle with Scientology. She had left Scientology. And this, I just don't see how it cannot be in the memoir that's coming out on October 8th, which is the same day that Riley Keough's interview with Oprah is being released. And I got to tell you, I'm going to be glued to my television. I'm going to be reading that book. I'm going to once again be up too late reading because I just need to know. I want to know. I want to know so bad. So hopefully you guys are going to keep an eye out. Keep an eye on that with me. Let's move on now to a little P. Diddy news here. Did you guys know that years ago, people were connecting the dots on P. Diddy, Sean Diddy Combs, and Scientology? Did you know that? I didn't know that. Let's take a look at how that was being done. This is something that came out in 2015. It's shocking how much Diddy has in common with the Church of Scientology. We're not saying he's a member, but we don't want to cross either of them. Remember, this came out in 2015. And if you use the Google machine, you will find other similar articles and statements like this. So it talks about how Diddy is mega powerful. That's a given. Everyone knows that he has a ridiculous level of influence and an iron grip on his crew. Guess what other entity also does? The Church of Scientology. Wait, what? We hear you say? There are a lot of powerful things in the world besides Diddy and Scientology. Why only compare these two? Good question, class. We've uncovered some extreme similarities that will make you see exactly where we're coming from. The commonalities are scary accurate. Take a look below. All right, let's take a look below. I am in it. A strong belief in the power of self. According to Scientology.org, Scientologists believe that man is an immortal. His experience extends well beyond a single lifetime, and his capabilities are unlimited, even if not presently realized. If you look at Puff's whole life, you can see he follows the same credo. The mogul stays winning in every business aspect, and he doesn't seem to be slowing down anytime soon. The fact that he's achieved so much and will continue to do so shows that he believes in no limits. He's crammed enough experience to last multiple lifetimes. Their legion of loyal followers. The church cult says that it has over 10 million followers worldwide. Diddy has over 10 million fans on Twitter. Their influence brings all their devotees to the yard. I thought that was funny. Their influence brings all their devotees to the yard. Damn right. It's better than yours. Okay. The crew they roll with. The roll call for Scientology A-listers is extremely long. Not so much anymore. Maybe it was in 2015, but this hasn't been corrected since then. You got to know the big ones. Tom Cruise, Elizabeth Moss, Juliette Lewis, and John Travolta. Puff has his A-list friends, and he chills with on the regular too, from Jay-Z, Beyonce, Nas, Chris Brown, Kanye West, and countless more. Puff's friends are the creme de la creme of the music industry. They're on a boat. This one might be a little bit of a stretch, but okay. The church cult has its own ship called Free Winds. This mega yacht is a whopping 440 feet long and caters to Scientologists of the highest level, operating Thetan 8. It's been a luxurious religious retreat since 1988. To a Scientologist, coming to the Free Winds for new OT8 is the pinnacle of a deeply spiritual journey, says the ship's website. Yes, it has a site. Years of training and auditing have brought him to this ultimate point. On the boat, OT8 status followers can spend time with like-minded followers and join together on achieving their spiritual peak. Puff, on the other hand, has a yacht for a king dubbed Oasis. It's nearly 195 feet long. This ship only set Puff back a mere $72 million. And this was like way back when. It's probably worth more now. It set him back a mere $72 million when he reportedly bought it from Eric Schmidt, Google's executive chairman. No biggie, the insane boat even has a $1,700 aqua glide and nightclub on board. Puff stunts so hard. They toss serious shade at staffers. This is where you really get into some serious similarities here. There are rumors that the current leader of the church cult, David Miscavige, you know what? We should wake Os up for this. I feel bad talking about him behind their back. Let's get dear leader David Miscavige, wake up your Office of Special Affairs. My friends at the Office Special Affairs, we're already into this. Hopefully you're paying attention, but just wanted to, in case you fell asleep, because you are underworked, you don't get enough sleep, and you are definitely not appreciated there. Okay, so here we go. David Miscavige often humiliates members of his staff. Examples of this come from former members who described a place of confinement and humiliation known as the Hole. Though the church described it as a place of discipline, previous staffers said it was more like a place for abuse. And that is a fine line in the Sea organization that they make it this gray area of it's abuse, but no, it's discipline. We're helping you get your ethics in. From rumors of him cursing out employees to throwing food across the room, this guy definitely fits the bill. The video above should illustrate our point, and there's some videos in here too that shared. So this part too, anybody that insults the church cult will provoke a merciless war. Take Anderson Cooper, for example. After he did a week-long investigation of the cult called Scientology, it says church, but I'm saying cult. I can't take it anymore. A history of violence. The cult retaliated with a 95-page anti-Anderson magazine. The mission of the publication was to completely destroy the journalist's reputation and career. So it gets into a few more of these similarities in when it comes to trying to silence people, trying to silence them. So many commonalities. And I thought, I'm seeing it. I'm connecting the dots. So Office of Special Affairs, continue to pay close attention here, okay? Because we're on to you. We're on to you. You guys tell me what you think about this whole Diddy connection thing. Tell me in the live chat. I'm going to go back and read all the comments later. If you catch it on the replay, jump in those comments. Now, let's get into and talk about a bit of how do we deal with boundaries around drama and things that are triggering. There are multiple tools that I have found since my time in leaving Scientology, multiple modalities, multiple tools. And there is one of the there's a YouTube channel that I followed that I feel for me has helped explain things in kind of layman terms. This person isn't even a therapist or a doctor, but she does have a lot of experience. Her channel is, oh my gosh, I'm going blank on her channel name right now. Oh, I'm supposed to be clear and have perfect recall. It's failing me right now. Crappy childhood fairy. So if you had a crappy childhood, stick around. Or if you know somebody who had a crappy childhood, also stick around. We're going to go over a few things that I found to be very helpful in creating boundaries, even if they're boundaries that other people don't agree with. This is a thing in Scientology we're never allowed to do. When we were in Scientology, children or adults, you're not allowed to have boundaries when it comes to Scientology. You have to answer every single question that you are given by Scientology, anything that you are interrogated about. You absolutely have to answer it. You're not allowed to have those boundaries. So you become very indoctrinated that is, the solution, just like get it all out. And that would even be okay to a degree, except for the fact that Scientology uses this against people to control them. So let's take a look at this. This is something I find very helpful.
I'm going to say something very tough love here. You can ask a person to understand you and your needs, and you can even ask them to help you avoid getting triggered. You can ask, but they are not obliged to do any of it. And that doesn't mean they don't care about you, and it doesn't mean they don't support you. And in fact, when they give you space to notice your own trauma reactions and work on those in here, it might be the most loving, supportive thing that they can do. I'm going to say something very tough love here.
So these little tidbits and tools, it just really helped me. And I've read multiple, I try to read as much as I can or in watching videos on YouTube when I have questions or I'm trying to understand something and do a bit of a deep dive, but look at different sources of information to help me process in addition to one-on-one work that I do. And I found that a lot of the way that she explains these things really helped me understand it more and understand my own experience, my own feelings, why I felt the way that I have. But it also helps me understand the hurt in other people and what they're going through, which is why there's a time and a place like for understanding. When you really understand, coming on here and sharing our stories can be very difficult and re-traumatizing in ways because you're talking about it over and over and over again sometimes, and you're dealing with it. And so many people are at different points of healing in their journey in and out of Scientology, all at different places. And if you've had a traumatic childhood, I think you're going to be able to relate to a lot of what we are going to talk about here.
It is your right to ask for what you want, for what you think would be helpful. It's your right to leave somebody who doesn't honor your boundaries. But trying to force other people to help you manage your trauma reactions, first of all, it's not fair. And second of all, it's not going to work. And it can end up backfiring and becoming, in effect, a form of control, you controlling other people. And everyone in our lives has the right not to be controlled by us or anyone else. So you have the right to ask, and you have the right not to spend time with that person, but they have the right to be themselves. Now, someone who cares about you might be willing to change the way they do things if you ask them. They might find that a reasonable thing that they can do, but they might not. It's not always something they can do, or it's not something they agree with, or they're willing to take the risk that the relationship isn't going to work for you anymore.
That was such an eye-opener for me, especially when I was first learning about that concept years after leaving Scientology and trying to process the idea of having boundaries. What boundaries might I have had back then? Or what boundaries of mine were violated? How could I have better held those boundaries? What does it look like to do that? And one of the things I came to realize way later, I mean, and honestly, just in the last few years, was that exactly what she said. I can ask people, you know, you can have your boundaries, but it doesn't mean that other people are necessarily going to want to follow them, right? And I think that that is such an interesting tool. And she gets more into PTSD type of thinking and how that can kind of set us off in ways that we're no longer actually communicating and trying to work through this, but we're actually having a trauma response with these emotions. And that can be very heavy and hard and difficult for an individual. I know that it's been for me at times, but I found this tool to be very helpful because we can't control what other people do or say. I can only control what I'm doing and how I choose to show up. And after 35 years in Scientology and spending my time and my life that way, and the years it took me to climb out of a lot of that mind control, I had made the decision that I don't want to spend any more time in that. I want to help. I want to raise awareness. I want to expose Scientology. I want to help prevent people from going into Scientology. And personally, I want to help people who are leaving Scientology because I know how difficult that road was to walk. And then it's not over when you leave Scientology. Far from it. Far, far, far from it. I had a cult expert on was it earlier this week? I think it was on Monday, Rick Ross, who talks about Scientology being one of the most difficult cults to recover from. That is real. Another cult expert has said that on average, it takes somebody 12 and a half years to recover from Scientology, if they even fully do. It's incredibly insidious. And you know this from the different stories and experiences that we are here sharing. But with that, I think it's helpful to also maybe bring some tools that maybe some of you who went through a traumatic childhood or something similar or a high control group could use as well, so that we continue to have dialogue about these things, but try to also show up as the best version as ourselves if we can. So let's take a look at this next clip.
And PTSD thinking will tell you that someone you love, who you're attached to, who's doing something that bothers you, owes it to you to change. They're a bad person if they don't. But I want to teach you why, in any situation where you're not actually restrained, that these people are not actually doing anything to you. They're being themselves, which you may or may not like, but they're not preventing your healing. And I would just point out that when you're setting boundaries, you're being yourself. So you get to say what you like. You get to express yourself. That's you being yourself, but they get to do the same. Okay, right now, you're thinking, what? But that's what I'm saying. When people do their own thing and give you space to work out your own triggers and learn to calm your own PTSD symptoms, you then have an opportunity to learn the only thing that really works or can be sustained around changing your triggers. And that is self-regulation.
Self-regulation was something that I didn't understand. And to be honest, it took me a long time to wrap my head around it because it was not something that I grew up understanding or learning or that was used anytime in the C organization. It was get your TRs in, get your training routines in. That basically is code for the Scientologist or the Sea Org member to shut off all of those emotions and just be that Scientology robot. And that's not dealing with anything either, but you wouldn't be allowed. And that's why people leave. They leave Scientology and the Sea Organization because it's a constant violation of their boundaries and it re-traumatizes. And there's no place to share it or communicate about it, not safely. So she gives more tools for dealing with that, dealing with the dysregulation.
What a strong grip CPTSD symptoms have on us. But it's not crazy because there is, in fact, a way to get regulated. We can do that. It starts with owning the problem, not blaming other people, not blaming them with our words, not blaming them in our minds, like believing that other people are doing this to us. Because healing can really move forward fast when we can just recognize, I'm having a CPTSD reaction. It's a reaction that I have. And then this is the hard part. Resist the urge to say a lot about how you're feeling. You can say something like, oh dear, I'm having one of my reactions. Hold on a sec while I get myself sorted out. But don't wave your triggered feelings out there like a flag. It's like, I'm triggered. This is so bad. You're doing this to me. You're not going to get a good reaction. And trying to get other people to deal with your reactions, has it ever worked well?
It has not worked well for me. I can only speak from my own experience. It's something that I came to as well. It's so interesting for me is where I could learn a tool or read something outside of Scientology, and still it took time. It's like I had to strip other things away till I could understand and use the tool. And sometimes I needed to have it modeled for me. And that is something that I'm so thankful that I did and do have people in my life who have modeled this self-regulation, who have dealt with their own CPTSD, their own trauma, whatever it is, and have been able to model that through their healing, have been able to create boundaries without enforcing them or saying that somebody else needs to change in order for me to heal or for me to move on. It put me in the driver's seat, and I found it to be really helpful in my recovery. I also found it to be helpful in being empathetic and having compassion for people when they are triggered, when they are struggling. Scientology, high control groups, your own past and trauma. It is not easy to talk about. And especially when you're talking about a topic that you actually get attacked for. Sometimes it's by Scientology trolls, sometimes it's by regular trolls, right? Everybody has an opinion about it. So how do you create boundaries around that, but still be able to get your message out, still be able to expose Scientology, as is my case? And these are some of the tools that I found to be helpful.
So this is your new approach. You notice your triggers, you calm them, you own them, you give yourself a little time out to write your fears and resentments, and that will work wonders for you to return to the conversation and have communication about whatever's bothering you. You can say it in a way that will be heard. After that, whatever you need to discuss is going to be simpler and lighter and easier for another person to hear. Now, I'm not guaranteeing that they're a good, caring person who can hear you. Sometimes you're going to run into that, but you can do your part towards that good communication. You're going to get better results, no matter, even if they're a jerk. So it's a good thing when it happens. The nicest feeling of all is knowing that whatever happens, whatever present day reaction rises up out of your childhood trauma, you will be able to deal with it. You are in the time now when you can begin to bring the best part of you forward. The best part of you can start running your life. You do not have to be identified anymore with the old triggers and the old events that happened. You are in there somewhere. So
that was very powerful to me in using those tools and being able to, the idea of self-regulating and using other tools, not what we learned in Scientology, not what we were indoctrinated to believe in the Sea organization, not shutting off those emotions, not dealing with them. And people find different ways and tools to help them after they've left, whether it's Scientology or a high control group. But at the end of the day, they're all people who are healing and working through and from something that was incredibly traumatizing. And I think that's why so many of you never in Scientology, but all in on ending this cult, are here and are supportive. And sometimes things might be said or happen that might trigger your own trauma, right? Might trigger other things, a lack of acceptance or understanding. So what I want to do is continue to do what I've done, which is to focus my channel on exposing Scientology and life after a cult, which is what it's called, Scientology Life After a Cult. I like to share stories and experiences of people who survived Scientology and who were brave enough to come forward and share those stories, but put a light on what's happening afterwards, right? Sometimes there's everything. It runs the gamut. People are all over the place when it comes to their healing and where they're at. But at the end of the day, if we can all just try to show up with as much understanding and love and kindness as we can, even when it's difficult, even when we ourselves are triggered, right? Even when we might hear something that doesn't resonate with us, even if it's whatever is happening, that's the only thing we can control and continue to do. So I'm going to be here doing that. If any of you have any questions for me, you can always email me, Natalie@lifeafteracult.com, and I will do my best to get back to you. If you have any questions, if you have any ideas, if you have more content around Scientology that you'd like me to focus on in terms of answering questions, especially for many of you who've never been in Scientology, but you're all in on exposing Scientology, I want to help give you those tools and elevate those voices of the survivors of Scientology and people who are out there doing all these things to expose it, because it is amazing what has been happening and it's going to continue happening. Now, I am going to be flying out today to Florida. It is September, and I shared with you guys early in the month when it was my birthday that I'm going to spend the month celebrating my birthday. I failed. Maybe like a little bit. So I'm correcting that. This weekend, I'm celebrating my birthday. I'm going to have a great time. We're also going to be celebrating the birthday of 2 other people who have birthdays in September. And I'm going to have a great time doing it. I'm going to have fun doing it. I'm going to share it with you guys. I'm going to be meeting up with other people. I'm hopefully going to be able to meet up with people who are coming off the ship, who went on the cruise all together and then docked next to the free winds. So it's going to be a fantastic weekend of fun activity, trying a few things. Like I'm going a couple places I've never been before. And like I said, I'll share some of it as well. I'll continue to do my recap from there. So if you see something, say something. Go ahead and send it to Natalie at lifeafteraccult.com. I appreciate you guys so much showing up here each day, whether you're showing up in the live chat or you're catching it on the replay. I appreciate it when you like the videos, when you make comments, when you interact. That support means everything, just you showing up. And even if you're just watching and you never like a video and you never comment or anything like that, I appreciate that you're here. And even by watching and getting this information, you're standing up to a really big bully called Scientology. Scientology does not want us to talk about this. They absolutely don't. But we are going to continue to talk about that here. And I'm glad that you're here. So thank you for that, everybody. Most importantly, I hope you all get out and have an amazing cult-free day.